I don't think anybody is worried enough. I think the hazard of what we're facing
Really?
is almost beyond what we can imagine. We don't need ChatGPT to take us to the worst case scenario. We are already losing our capacity to understand the world we live in. Fusion power, which I believe is the one technology that potentially bootstraps us out of the system we're in and into one that is sustainable.
The viral chatbot that has raised concerns from teachers and academics over its ability to cheat on essays and exam has now passed a Wharton MBA final exam, the United States medical licensing exam, and components of the bar exam. Teacher acknowledged that GPT-3 is by no means perfect. At times, the bot made mistakes in simple mathematical calculations and wasn't able to handle more advanced process analysis questions.
I don't think anybody is worried enough. I think the hazard of what we're facing
Really?
is almost beyond what we can imagine. And that is, I'm saying that even though I know what you have to focus on if you want to comfort yourself that this isn't so terrible. I do know that this is a pretty good spot check of where we are in the trajectory that results in general artificial intelligence. This is going to be, 100 times as bad in a world where they can be consulting something that sounds very knowledgeable and may in fact be completely on the wrong track, which I would point out is another argument, and maybe even a much stronger argument, for including real-world physical interactions in which you do not have to assess whether or not somebody knows what they're doing. The rate at which this is going to get better is clear, right? Exposing it to larger and larger data sets is going to make it better and better at simulating this kind of interaction. The question of what happens if this doesn't stay unconscious, or this stays unconscious but its descendant picks up consciousness, is even more troubling. First of all, we don't need ChatGPT to take us to the worst case scenario. We are already losing our capacity to understand the world we live in, to manage the tools that we are creating, to live in harmony with each other. We had a world, we had an internet, and then we dumped smartphones into it. And it was like an accelerant. It took the derangement that was arising out of natural algorithmic processes within the internet, and they got vastly worse when people were constantly confronted with their phone and the ability to interact in this way all the time. Fusion power, which I believe is the one technology that potentially bootstraps us out of the system we're in and into one that is sustainable. But if you just added it to the system tomorrow, if you read the paper tomorrow and turned out we'd accomplished scalable fusion, it would likely make things worse and not better because we're not ready for the world that it creates.
We don't need underwriters. Underwriters sat down, they're like, dude, no, you can't stop this. I make $250,000 a year. There's no way I want you to get rid of my job. This is scary, right? But guess what? That's innovation, getting rid of underwriters.
We have just watched the entire expert class fail a real-world test, right? We watched all the universities, every science department. They have all just failed a major test.